Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello, and welcome to episode 191 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Today, we're talking about nothing. We're just going to do some hangar talk today. With me, joining me from the Bachelor at Super Charlie, flying a Cherokee 180, he likes to call, and we all like to call, Lucy. It's our friend and just all-around good guy, Brian Siskin. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Glad to be here. Glad you're back, Ben. Ted, always glad you're here. So super excited. And we've got One Dull Geek running the chat. So everybody's here. And we've already covered in the pre-chat Salisbury steak and creamed chip beef. So clearly we're warmed up and ready for a great show tonight.
Wow. Yes, I guess we are. I wasn't
And steakums.
expecting that.
We talked about steakums. I love it.
The steakums is what I was waiting for. So
Well, you didn't
Also
even know what
joining-
they were.
told you I saw them in the grocery store. I just hadn't
okay.
eaten them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're so
that's-
good. All right.
So good. Also joining us tonight in the land of non-steakums, probably. He lives out on the West Coast in the beautiful town of Portland, Oregon. He is our sport pilot extraordinaire flying a CTLS we like to call the Egg. It's our friend Ted. Good evening, sir.
Hey, glad to be here. It is very beautiful here. And for the record, I have Little Smokies in the freezer. That's a
Okay.
nice old one for me, like cocktail party type stuff.
But that also kind of feels more Pacific Northwest fare. I don't know
Really?
why. I just feel like it's just would yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Little Smokies are like little tiny hot dogs, like the size of your pinky.
Oh,
And-
like a Vienna sausage type thing?
Yeah.
But cooked and smoked. It actually
Okay.
tastes good outside of what a Vienna sausage
So
tastes like.
you dump a little barbecue sauce on them and put a toothpick in them and serve them at parties, I
Oh.
think. Like Mad Men era.
Ah.
Very good. Want to check in? We've got a lot to talk about regarding my little adventure, but I did want to ask you, Brian, what have you been up to?
Well, been doing a little bit of flying. I've been getting some luck with getting actual time and actual IMC time. And I have to say, slowly but surely, the magic of the instrument rating it keeps coming together for me, just as you prescribed. And there's been already several situations where, even if I took off VFR and I got to look at what was going on a little bit better, I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to get a clearance and not have to think about this, So there's been some of those. Flew a challenging flight last night back from Muscle Shoals. And I was with a couple of friends who had never been in a small plane before. And so they were pretty excited. We went down to Muscle Shoals and got some food and hung out for a little while and then came back. But when I don't know if it's probably the same thing where you are, but it's just simmering heat index of 105, steam bath, everything. And so taking off out of Muscle Shoals in the evening last night, I got up and the haze was, everything's way, way, way VFR, but the haze was so dense. I couldn't see a thing. I just thought I should probably be flying IFR right now. So I was able to make that happen. But then there was a storm coming down from Clarksville, southeast towards Nashville. And it was the first time I've been in a situation where it was really, the bad stuff that was supposed to happen wasn't supposed to happen until overnight, but this stuff came about early and was not playing around. And I was in my first situation where I thought we're either going to get there, just a few minutes before this comes over, or we're going to have to divert. And I didn't like cutting it that close. But I got to have my sort of first experience, I think, really leveraging ATC as a resource in an IFR flight. And so that was just really rewarding. Nashville was great, and you just need that extra insight when you're trying to make those decisions in real time and think about what's happening, and you're seeing stuff and you don't, you just need to clarify and get other points of view. And so I was able to get all that and just little things, John Toon is runway 02 and 20, and I was coming in from the south. Storm's coming in from the northwest, and I'm concerned about the timing a little bit. And just little things like, hey, there were, expect RNAV 20, and I said, no,
Right.
there's no wind anyway. I'm more or less just said, hey, I'm on a 30 mile straight in. Okay, this is what's happening. So just little things like that, where if you follow everything that it's a weird balance, I guess. You want to listen to ATC and you want to trust their point of view and some of their guidance. But at the same time, it was real pilot and command kind of stuff, where it was just, they're just going about the steps of what they're going about. They're not going to prescribe to you those sensibilities. And so to come through that scenario and have it just work out perfect. And the one helicopter guy that was at John Toon at the time when I landed, he said, "Oh, good job getting in time," or whatever. I don't like cutting it that close. I told the guys I was with, I said, that's as close as I want to do things like this, but it was totally safe and totally fine. And it was just one of those flights where you're just like, this is a really good learning experience, in lots of little ways.
I think great controllers good controllers will just keep the flow going and be open to suggestions or requests from the pilots. The great controllers are going to say, would you rather have 02? But either way, you got what you wanted, and you actually, it's ADM. It's real stuff. And so it sounds like you did a good job.
Yeah, I'm
It's
getting
rewarding.
comfortable with.
It's very rewarding when you pull it off and it went like that. So
Yeah, but getting more comfortable with just single pilot IFR and doing those things, and it's been really nice to just have a whole new modality to fly within and be challenged by. But I haven't gotten over my head yet, which is good.
I really love it when you post in Discord or you send us a text of a breakout or something like that, because again, you're echoing things that I went through when I first got my instrument rating, and you're just feeling the same emotions that I felt, and it's reminding me of those great emotions. I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, if you can get it, I had to wait for a long time to get mine because I didn't have the option. But if you can get your instrument rating, it is cool because it is a force multiplier to the flying experience that is hard to explain what it is until you're doing it. And then when you're doing it, you go, wow, okay. All that to be said, I love flying VFR and I miss being able to do things like, hey, watch this, but you can't, I don't know. You gotta fly the plan. You can't start veering around. So, I miss the freedom, but you can always go back to it when it's safe to do so.
Absolutely. Very cool. And Ted, you've been busy at work, so we'll just, anything else you wanted to add? I don't want to feel like you're being left out, but
No.
you kind of told me you didn't really have anything going on. So
I'm in the midst of selling a business and got my hands full.
Got you.
Like during the podcast, is that what it's on your other screen?
Yeah, exactly.
He's negotiating right now.
Yeah.
So we want to let everybody know we do have an announcement. This is a non-event event, which means we're going to tell you where we're going to be. And if you show up, great. And if you don't show up, that's okay too. But we have our 200th episode coming up. And we have made the decision on September 26th, we're going to record it live at McCollum Airport, Cobb County International, Romeo Yankee Yankee. We have a good idea of actually where we're going to do it. A friend of ours, Hanger, would make a great spot. We haven't nailed down the details on that yet, but he has agreed to do it in theory. We just got to nail down the dates and times. And then afterwards, Elevation Chophouse is on the field, and we can go down there and have some food and for those not flying, could have an alcoholic beverage, and those flying cannot. But yeah, it should be a fun time. So
That's your home airport.
That's my home airport. Romeo Yankee Yankee. It's a Delta. It's an easy airport to get into. Great controllers there. So come on over.
I'm looking forward to it. I like going there. And what I like is we have so much confidence that it's like, even if this hangar falls through, we've got about 12 different options behind that we can do. And so it's a little bit easier to just go full tilt at it. Be like, we'll figure this thing out.
Plenty of hotel choices within 2 or 3 miles of the airport. So again, and there's a rental spot at Ascension Aviation, the FBO, or you can, do an enterprise or anything like that. So there's a lot of options for if you're coming from a long distance.
But hold on a second here, though. I appreciate you being Southern and accommodating, but the whole purpose of the non-event event is we do nothing.
I agree with that. I'm just saying there are options out there.
Sure,
It should be very easy to make the arrangements.
I'll tell you what, we really were surprised when we did this for episode 100, and we were in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, on the back lot of a hangar that's across the runway. There was nothing convenient about where we were to anyone. And we were, I believe we were all 1,000% convinced that of course no one's coming. It's like Pink Floyd live at Pompeii, right? It's there's no one there, and that's the beauty of it. We're just doing a show for no one, and people showed up. And we did a lot of pizza ordering and scrambling because we try to tell people it's a non-event event, but then we also are just human beings. So non-event event, but plenty of resources around there, plenty of fallbacks. If you just show up at that airport, you'll probably figure out where we are and how to get there or whatever. And there's a restaurant, so we don't have to worry about ordering pizza. So this is great. Super excited about getting together with you guys in person again.
And to recap, that's RYY Atlanta area on September 26th, which is a Saturday.
Very cool. Boom. It's happening. Also wanted to remind everybody, we've released out some bonus content. The person behind is the pilot, is what we're calling it, part 1. And that's where we basically interrogated Ted, put him under a spotlight, and asked him a bunch of questions. We got Flying Fins UK private pilot check ride debrief. So a private pilot check ride from someone that lives in the UK, different perspective. We got Erica's multi-engine check ride debrief. And we got a couple of more coming up that haven't been released yet. We got Brian's long cross-country episode that we're going to be releasing. And then also we got a Killing Zone conversation with 3 people that are covering 2 sections of the book. That was you two, and then One Dull Geek, right?
Yeah. We're just notoriously bad at promoting all of this bonus content that we're creating. And so I'm glad that we're bringing this back out. And the person behind the pilot, that was really something that the community was asking for. Obviously, we're not trying to make interrogation videos of ourselves, but we practiced on TED to develop all of our interrogation techniques, and it worked out really well. So episode 1 is with Ted, and then we'll cover me and Ben here at some point in our copious spare time. But just tons of really cool stuff, and special thanks always and shout out to our 4th man, One Dull Geek, who really makes a lot of these things happen, and we would not be able to produce the amount of bonus content that we are if it weren't for him. So thanks to Mr. Geek.
May I also mention one thing real quick that I haven't told either of you about? So we've broken down our campsites, and we're getting, we use this guide. They've got these minivans that'll drive around to help you get all your equipment from where you're camping over to your plane.
Where are you camping?
We were at, it was called Relum Dots. It's just off the airport property.
Is this an event?
No, this was at Oshkosh.
Oh.
And I was getting into this van, and there was a young couple in the back seat who said, "Are you Ben from the Midlife Pilot podcast?" And I said, why, yes, I am. And I said, don't forget that guy standing out there outside the camp there. That's One Dog Geek. He's the real celebrity.
That's right.
He's the
Excellent.
man. Yep.
And for our Caps Available members, they see these debriefs basically as soon as Mark produces them, and then we schedule them to be released, because otherwise, if we sent them out on Patreon, you'd get about 12 in a week and then none for a year. And so yeah, we kind of spread those out, but the Caps people get to see those earlier. We have another feedback this week.
Yes.
This is a great one because this is it's like a rebound feedback section. So
we're almost having a conversation using the tape machine here.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is on our tape machine. This is from Ash, who we also know as Flying Wheelies, a sport pilot with a wheelchair. Let's play that.
Hey guys, this is Ash again, flying_wheelies. Thank you so much for listening to my feedback and the great compliments and comments you all have. I am really sorry, Ted. I meant Ted for his sport pilot escapades, not Ben. And sorry for the goof up. Anyhow, wanted to just thank you all, and also wanted to mention something else that I've done, which not a lot of pilots have done, which is when I bought the Paradise P1 I mentioned last time, I bought it in Florida. And then I flew it from Florida to California over 3 days along with the previous owner. So I also was, by doing that, the first wheelchair pilot flying a plane with hand controls, truly cross-country from one coast to the other. So thought you might get a kick out of it. Thanks a lot again. Hope to see you all guys sometime soon. And Ted definitely would love to meet up on the West Coast. Thanks.
That was such a great follow-up. We have so many questions, and I love that. It's like, and that's what Brian talks about when we all talk about like a true cross-country flight. This meets the private pilot bare minimum. It's like, no. I say literal cross-country here. He got my name wrong. Don't care. Doesn't matter. We were talking before the show about being at Starbucks and grabbing somebody else's drink because you hear the wrong name. It's like, who cares, So really like hearing about that from Ash, and I'll have the link to his Instagram again this week in the show notes.
What an inspiration. If you're looking to take a long trip and you just keep having trepidation about the logistics and how challenging it might be or whatever, my goodness, get on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So I'm a huge fan of his already. I followed him on Instagram, and I just think it's all really cool. So Brian, you want to hit our housekeeping?
Yeah, we'll make it quick. We got a lot to get through. I can't wait to hear about your Oshkosh adventures and other things. And this is, we didn't really say it explicitly, but this is information whiskey. So it is a show about nothing, right? Join our Patreon community and help us keep the Midlife Pilot podcast ad-free. Your support makes this show possible, and every membership level gets you into our incredibly active Discord community. For everything Midlife Pilot podcast, to support us on Patreon, send feedback, grab merch, leave a message on the Midlife Pilot podcast tape machine like our friend flying_wheelies, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll read it on the air. Hit subscribe or follow on your podcast app so you never miss an episode, and it really helps other people find us. We're a little slow on reviews right now, so we're going to make another plea to get the reviews going, unless there's some that come in and we haven't seen them. But
I look
anyway.
And don't make us start playing the Sarah McLachlan music.
Okay, all right. We've been on a roll with reviews for a while, and then now they kind of dropped off. I mean, the thing is that people leave reviews, but they just give us 5 stars, which is fantastic, but they're not leaving the written part. That's the essay assignment. But that's your opportunity to say ridiculous things that we'll read. So keep it in mind.
I want to cover Patreon and Discord real quick here. In Patreon, we've got one person that joined us at the Land-O-Matic level, and that's Ray B. So Ray, thank you for joining us. And in Discord land, we had some cool achievements this week. Geeta has been working on getting a private pilot check ride scheduled and having a lot of trouble with that. She had a great short field landing, and she was explaining it was 7 gusting 19, and that was 40 degrees off the runway. So I saw that. I didn't see how far, what the direction was. It's like no matter what, 7 gusts of 19, I don't care if it's straight down the runway. That's a lot of work. So she's aiming for a check ride that, as she said, is less thrilling and more boring. Sounds great. She also told us a little bit later in the week, her husband replied standby to something, and she loved that. She said it was a win as his first aviation lingo moment.
Yes.
I liked that. And little call to action here. If you have a great aviation lingo moment, either you to someone else, like to your child, or somebody said it to you, hit up our tape machine and tell us about that.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, it's unearthed a lot of really fun stuff on Discord, right? There's so many people that are realizing that you've embedded aviation terms and sayings or disciplines into everyday life, and sometimes, yes, they get adopted by the spouse or whatever else. So this is great. My wife and I do we do the standby and
notice of discontinuance.
Yeah, that's right. Have you have you done the checklist kind of thing? So anyway, all good stuff.
Yeah. Continuing, Adam V filed his first IFR flight plan himself. I imagine that you have done that with an instructor so many times. You're like, wait, I can do this on my own now. It's that experience of like after your check ride when you go out and it's like, wait, I don't have to like get permission to go fly. I just get in the plane. Yeah, I imagine that's a great feeling. And he was in a SR-22. He said he had a good landing on that one. Jeff B shared a picture, maybe a video, I can't remember now. He rented a plane and flew in Maui while he was on vacation. I think that's a cool accomplishment. He got his ticket earlier this year. So what a great way to use that. Gordon J hit an hour milestone on a pilots and pause flight and shared pictures of the pause. I don't know if he shared any pilot pictures, but definitely the paw pictures. And Dev Cannon hit an hour milestone when flying his Navion back from Oshkosh from AirVenture. So
Navion to Oshkosh. I mean, what a thrill that must have been for him, right? Wow.
Yeah. It's like the plane is meant for it. I don't know which would be better, that plane or Ryan's, home built RV.
That's the beautiful thing about Oshkosh. Both.
Yeah.
The answer is both.
They're both celebrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach M, he's been, speaking of RVs, he's been building, and his daughter started getting tailwheel instruction, and his achievement was that he shared the pattern with her for the first time. He was in his plane and she was in a 140 with an instructor. That's got to be a great feeling.
That kind of that was like head explosion. I was like, wait a minute, what? And Zach M and his lovely wife and daughter were at the meetup at Oshkosh, and so I got to spend a little time with them. So very excited.
Yeah. And in my last kind of Discord thing in our Patreon chat channel, one of our Chris's posted in there. He's going to be in Southern Oregon, Northern California in about a week. And he's wondering if anybody's flying and has a couple empty seats. So I thought it'd be a good announcement here if people are listening and they're in NorCal. I know that's definitely the case for me. It's like I fly with an empty seat all the time, and I would love to take somebody. So I told him, just go ahead and post it anywhere. Those are great ways to see people and get to meet people. So thank you all for sharing your achievements.
Yes, and thanks to all the Patreon supporters. It really means a lot to us. So thanks. So tonight we're just going to catch up on my Osh trip and others' Osh trips. I want to first start out by thanking Captain Jeff of the Airline Pilot Guy podcast. And in my mind, I think he started this back in the early to mid 2000s, like 2010 maybe. He's been doing this a really long time, and I kind of look at him as the godfather of aviation podcasts because they're on episode 719. I mean, they've been just cranking them out, and he's a really nice guy. But they did a 2-parter, and they invited me on and allowed me to talk about us knuckleheads over here at the Midlife Pilot Podcast. And we were camping all in the same campsite together. We had a meetup with APG and us. And I think we probably had about 20, 25 people around. And it was just a genuinely good time. It didn't matter which podcast you were there for. It was just everybody intermingling. And he just does such a great job on his podcast. So I wanted to give him a big shout out for allowing me to hop on there. He and AJ and also Nick Camacho, great guy, interesting fella. I got to spend a little time with him as well. So shout out to them. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to ramble on your podcast for a little bit. So we talked a little bit about my arrival, which was very interesting, and we can get to that. But anyway, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I think that's what your people call it. He's good people, Jeff.
He's good people. That's right.
Yeah. There's a lot of crossover between those two audiences, and it's very easy just to hang out and be comfortable around that crew.
Definitely. Most definitely. So I did want to start out by saying my trip up there was pretty easy up until I got into Fond du Lac. I went there because I wanted somebody in my right seat, and I chose our friend, One Dull Geek, Mark. He hopped in the plane with me, and we were told if you were to drive from Fond du Lac to Oshkosh, it's roughly around between 15, 20 miles. It took us an hour and 46 minutes for me to fly there. And I'm not even joking. You could go on FlightAware and check it out.
Yeah.
I actually got 3 wing rocks.
Yeah.
For my arrival. We get there, we get in line, and we get to Fisk, and they're in a hold. So we hold at Green Lake the first one. Second time around, they push us. We get a hold all the way back to Puckaway Lake and made it in on the third time in. And I'll tell you this, we got 3-6, but they never told us 3-6 left and 3-6 or 3-6 right. And I'm just following an RV in front of me, and I told Mark, I'm just going where he's going, and I hope they clear us to land. Because we were pretty much a beam 3-6 left, and he was going for 3-6 right. And I think there was a King Air or maybe a Beechcraft Duke. I can't remember.
Vision Jet that was out of service. Is that what you're thinking?
No, that's what put us in the hold. There was a disabled Vision Jet that put us in the hole to begin with. I'm talking about actually landing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just followed this guy to 3-6 right, and the controller said, high wing on short approach, cleared, land 3-6 red dot. And I looked over Mark and I'm like, well, thank God, at least we got a clearance to land. And we got in, no problem after that. And then we got super lucky with parking. I got into Vintage, so that was all well and good. But it was, I'd left Atlanta at 5 o'clock in the morning. Flew 3.5 hours for refuel in Northern Illinois, then flew to Fond du Lac, and then got on the plane, and then flying for over an hour and a half. I got to tell you, man, I was spent. It was pretty intense.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so nice having a pilot passenger next to you to help on the approach. And Mark's a good person for that. He's never done a wing rock at Osh. But other than that, he's a perfect person to have in the plane with you.
Yeah, and what was challenging is that we had planes were in the hole, and then you would have airplanes just coming in, and they're trying to squeeze themselves into the conga line.
Yeah.
Well, there was 1 mile in entrail spacing and 90 knots. Well, when somebody cuts in front of you, if you got a mile in trail, and then somebody cuts in front of you, or even 5 planes up in front of you, they're going to have to slow down.
Yeah.
And it just creates this accordion effect where everybody's kind of bunched together, everybody slows down, and then they get the right spacing, and then they speed back up. So I never worked my throttle and trim as hard as I did for that hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I have a question. Why is the line jumping problem so bad?
It's not these are people that are joining at Puckaway Lake. They weren't in the hold. They're just trying to find their space. So they think you've got somebody that's off to your left that's in the hold that you don't realize is coming around and making a left turn to join back in the conga line. They just see a gap because there's nobody behind them, and I guess they just jump in. They think they're finding a bigger gap than that's actually there.
Yeah.
Now, yes, there's also line cutting as well, but I think the majority of it is new arrivals or new planes into the arrival was creating this.
Yeah. If it was only the people that were in the hold going back around, that'd be one thing. But you've got people joining the whole time, and so you've got 2 different streams coming into it. Yeah, it's
Ryan saying because the line was 100 miles long, Brian.
yeah, exactly.
I get that, but I sort of, there's a lot of rigmarole around line jumpers, and so I just was trying to figure out why is that such a thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get that people have to merge,
and there would be people coming on the frequency that aren't supposed to be saying 90 knots, everybody. Well, everybody knows that, but when you have to keep that spacing is so critical. And I also learned it's really critical at one time, and that's when you're crossing over Fisk. If you're too close to somebody while you're going over Fisk, they're going to turn you and push you back in the hole.
Yeah.
You could be a half mile on trail up until the point you get to Fisk, you have a mile, they're going to clear you in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can't help. I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to have to go down to 70 knots or 80 knots to keep that spacing going. So it was great. I enjoyed it. Mark was an unbelievably great co-pilot. It was hard for me. I had my sight picture, but he had his iPad open and he could see the actual spacing between me and the guy in front of me. And that's all that I really cared about. So he did a really good job helping me with that.
I have a Fisk arrival audio to play, and then we've got your departure, and then we've got the other topic. And so let me play that approach one here.
Okay.
High wing, half mile south of Fisk, rock your wing. Really good rock. That's great. Straight up the railroad track for you, please. We're going to go runway P7. Enter a right downwind inside the gravel pits, 1,890 knots. And you can fix the tower now, 118.5. There's no chance of 36. Oh, let's see. We got enough spacing with those other guys. Yeah, you can do it. Right turn, go over the east-west road for runway 36. You got it. 126.6, still 1,890 knots. We'll see you out. You're my hero. I try.
And for those of you who don't know, that is our friend, and he is in the chat. That is Lord Alpha Juliet.
Yeah.
Working his magic.
There's two great things there. The one is that he surprised them with how sharp his wing rock was and caught the guy mid-sentence in that one. And then the other thing is that AJ is a great person to learn from for asking what you want. That clip is why I played that. Is he's at Oshkosh. It's super busy, but he knows there's enough time on the radio that he can ask for a different runway. And you can tell they gave it to him. He could do that. They would have said no. They would have been fine with that. So that's what I really liked about that.
And I can attest, I was in the plane with him when we went to Sun and Fun. And his wing rock, as Wendell Geek suggests, he's basically banking it about 60 degrees, maybe 65 degrees. Geek is saying 90 to the left and 90 to the right. It does feel like he's about to put it into a barrel roll when he wing rocks it. His goal is to get the controller, stop him mid-sentence and get him to say something that he wasn't expecting to say.
It's 60 because there is no more than 60. Just like I've always been 2,000 feet from a cloud.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you want to move forward with me getting ready to leave?
Yeah.
Gosh.
You want to set it up or just jump into it?
Yeah, no, let's just jump into it.
Cool.
Because there's an interesting story after this moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Dan, what's up, buddy? PK, how you doing, buddy? Look good? Looking good, buddy. Thank you. And the host of the Midlife Podcast, runway 36 left, line up. Number 911, runway 36 west, cleared. Say go. We'll see, PK.
I had that experience last year too. BK is a controller at Oshkosh. He is in a large Bravo normally, and he volunteers and goes up there every year. And he's in the moo cow when you are departing Osh.
He's a friend of the opposing bases guys, and that's how I met him. And just a really nice guy and an excellent controller as they all are. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk about, and this was very similar to what you experienced, Brian, as far as aeronautical decision making. I topped off my airplane at Fond du Lac, knowing that going home, I was going to be making a stop in Cincinnati. And what the ideal thing for me to do was to leave Oshkosh and fly directly to Cincinnati without having to stop for fuel. What I didn't plan on was being in a hold twice and flying for an hour and 46 minutes. Land, get out, get the plane settled down, and I dipped the tanks, and I had 56 gallons, between 56 and 57 gallons total.
So this is on the ground at Oshkosh after
This is
landing.
on the ground after Oshkosh,
Okay.
after landing at Oshkosh. Thank you for
Okay.
making that completely clear. I did my weight and balance and my fuel calculations probably 20 times. And keep in mind, in our airplane, we have a fuel totalizer, which is very helpful because the fuel gauges, the very first lesson I've said it before that I've ever gotten from an instructor was never trust a Cessna fuel gauge. And he's right. So 56 gallons and about 38 was going to be required based on the route that I had built for it, staying outside of the Chicago Bravo airspace. Takeoff, the weather it's very strong headwinds down low, oddly enough. There was a cloud deck at 4,500. If you don't have an IFR slot before you get to Oshkosh, you're certainly not going to get one there leaving it. So the plan was to stay low, conserve fuel, just take the hit on the time, and everything will be fine. And then I decided what I could do is I talked to our friend Ryan and a few other folks about picking up a pop-up IFR and how far south I would need to go to have the best chance of doing that. And he was spot on. I got on with the Rockford approach controller, which is just outside of Chicago, and instantly got a pop-up IFR, got me up to 9,000 feet, which really helped on the fuel savings, but I had to take a more circuitous route to get to Cincinnati.
Before you continue, can I just ask a question?
Please.
As a newer IFR pilot,
Mhm.
I have noticed that sometimes when you ask for a pop-up IFR, that sometimes they go, quick little side story, I have to do it. My dad would always just tease me when I was a kid. Hey, Brian, you want me to make you a milkshake? And I would say, yeah, Dad. Because he would do this over and over again. He'd go, poof, you're a milkshake, right? so,
Yes.
so pop-up IFR clearances have been kind of like that, right? They're either poof, you're IFR, or they go, okay, well, all right, you're kind of IFR, like you are IFR right now, but I've got to get back to you and ask you 20 questions, and souls on board and fuel and all of those kind of things. And so I'm sure this is, I listen to OB, but garbage. I can only retain so many things. But I wonder why it is that sometimes, I suppose it says typically with the center controller, but sometimes maybe it's based on workload, but just sometimes they just say, yeah, okay, fine. You're poof, you're IFR. And then other times they got to give you the business. So why is that?
I too listen to opposing basis and should be able to answer this, but it's also depending on where you're calling from and if it's a local IFR route or if you're going across a bunch of different sectors. So those poof, it's typically your local IFR. They don't need all that information.
So your destination lies within their governance in such a way that they're not going to have to do handoffs. Okay.
You don't need the automation. Cincinnati approach, you're not going to, they're not going to have you, it's not going to have to go down that far. So this one was, and I thought about it after the fact, but I should have filed while I was on the ground at Oshkosh and using my starting point at Rockford or Aurora or somewhere around there, and then picked it up, and it would have been probably easier, but we got it done.
CR Tango 407 CR Tango says terminal versus en route controllers and local versus not. See,
There we go.
We have quite the brain trust here. We have Lord F. Juliet, who knows how to do 60-degree wing rocks, and then we have people that really actually understand things. So this is great.
Yeah. So I get to higher altitudes. My fuel burn gets a lot better than I had initially expected. And by the way, when I briefed the weather, ceilings were at like 7,000, and it should have been a pretty easy VFR flight. So I get above the clouds, it's smooth, and I actually get a tailwind as opposed to a headwind. That's helping out. But I'm looking at my fuel totalizer. The fuel that I burned to get to that altitude wasn't a small amount. And, my IFR minimums are an hour. And which I plan on 15 gallons per hour. So I'm looking at, I need to land with 15 gallons. And I'm watching it like a hawk. Like, that's all I can think about. I'm going to Cincinnati to meet with family who I've told I'll be there for lunch, 12:30, 1 o'clock. So there's a little bit of pressure there, but I wasn't really that worried about it. I'm going to be spending all afternoon with them and spending the night with them as well. So, and having dinner and all that. So it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I missed lunch. So that wasn't really a pressure point for me. But I get up there and I'm watching this totalizer and it's showing 13 gallons remain, your current fuel burn, your fuel burned, and then your remaining fuel, and then your reserve.
And to be clear, what do you plan on for fuel burn per hour?
15 gallons an hour.
Okay. And
So I wanted to land at Cincinnati with 15 gallons left in the tank.
Right.
Did you land at KRP?
No, I did not. I got that reference. Lonnie Anderson, right?
Yeah.
It's a K, not a W. Yeah.
Yeah. WR. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm watching it and I hear Ted in my ear this whole time. And I'm not even joking. I hear Ted saying, "It's always fuel. It's always fuel. It's always fuel." And I made the decision. I called up. I said, approach, need to divert to Richmond County. And it was 6 miles away from where I currently was. And I'm at 9,000 feet. Yeah. So he said, okay. And he cleared me there. I put 15 gallons on each side, just enough to, give me 2 hours of fuel. I did not stick the tanks to see how much I had when I landed. I was just in too much of a rush. But,
yeah,
it was one of those moments that, it's just not worth it.
How'd you get down?
For lunch. Yeah, just get down, get the fuel.
What was how did you do? How did you get down there? Did you make it fun, or how did you do it?
Oh, I made it fun, and that leads me to another story too. But I chopped the throttle. I was in smooth air. It was clear in a million there. Pretty light winds, actually. I think I was doing 1,800 feet per minute, and I did a couple of spirals going down. It was actually pretty fun maneuver.
That's nice that you're a VFR for that.
Yes.
And the whole point of it's always fuel is it's not always fuel. But the point is that is under your control. You 100%. Only have yourself to blame for that one. And it's so easy to say, oh, I'm only half an hour away. Like, it's right there. And then all of a sudden you have to do 2 holds around the lake, right? And
that's right. And then, or I'm going into Cincinnati and there's a disabled aircraft on the runway and they have to route me around to another, you never know what's going to be. And to your point, that is the one thing that we can absolutely control. So I almost listed it in the achievements as my first fuel divert, but I thought we'd talk about it on the show to begin with. Speaking of descents, so I spent the night in Cincinnati, coming back to Atlanta on Sunday, and I'm on an IFR plan. You get the BUCKHD THREE arrival. Anybody up north is coming into Atlanta, anywhere in Atlanta, you are going to get the BUCKHD THREE arrival. You could get the D hand, but if you're coming from the Northwest, you're getting the BUCKHD THREE. And they left me up really high. They gave me a crossing restriction, 5,000 at the BUCKHD intersection, which is what they always give you. And I'm watching I did the mental math, and we also, believe it or not, the 430 WAS, the 1980s version of the GPS, will do vertical navigation calculations for you, which I absolutely loved. And I used it. And by the time I got...
It's got a whole button. It's got a whole button.
Yeah.
VNav. Yeah.
Yeah. The older one. Now, the plane, it's just for reference only. It's not controlling the plane, but it's just telling you what you need to hit this point. So it's telling me I need 700 feet per minute, which is not that big of a deal. And I finally get the descent, but I'm above a pretty thick cumulus layer. And I need to be at or below maneuvering speed because it was very choppy coming through this cumulus clouds from 9,000 down to 5,000. So I had my thumb on the button saying, getting ready to tell the controller, I'm not going to be able to make this cross restriction because I would put it to 800 or 900 feet per minute, but then that airspeed indicator would go faster than I would want to while I'm getting the crap beat out of me. But didn't have to. When I got below the layer a little quicker than I then, I could chop and drop even more. But that was the first time that I had a crossing restriction that was going to be challenging to hit, and was glad I was able to do it. So,
well, and that one was tougher because you had conditions to worry about.
That's right.
It's one thing to do in VFR where you can see how far you are from the ground, and to know the wings aren't going to fall off from turbulence. And those are two more concerns that you had going into Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. And actually got a loggable approach, which Brian can appreciate. You love it when you can collect them. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's my story. That it was a lot learned on this trip. And again, when you can do it and just run into a bunch of great people up there, just had such a great time.
Well, this is also a reminder of how idiosyncratic some of the things seem that you learn when you're learning to fly private training or any other training. But you just breezed through about 17 things that were just intrinsic knowledge to you that allowed you to do so many various things without even having to do any processing. One of the things that stuck out to me was just your inherent understanding of maneuvering speed and how the weight relationship is, and why when you were thinking about descending through a cumulus layer and you understanding the effects of that, that's just, it's easy to overlook. But, for anybody that's thinking about learning to fly and you feel like, I just want to get through the books and get to the fun stuff and just do all the flying, I just find it fascinating to think about the incredible array of synthesis of meteorological study, practice, all the things that go into what the story that you just told about an experience you had. It's actually made of a lot of different things that you've learned. And I think you being a more experienced pilot, it's easy to forget how many fine little pieces of knowledge and experience have amounted to that just being something that you just kind of breeze through and can say in 5 minutes.
But to be clear, he also said he learned a lot on this trip. And
that's right.
And that's the point is even with this much experience and knowledge, boy, we're still learning. And each year is a few more things that you add on.
Well, the true motivation behind all of it is that I had 4 cases of spotted cow on the airplane, and I knew that I was pretty heavy, and I couldn't let my, the recipients of this beer down by having this plane break apart and having the beer strewn out all over North Georgia. That would just, how would that look on an
it's so
NTSB
funny because
report?
Right, I know. We always talk about what is based on the decisions you're making. What does your NTSB report look like right now? And I was just thinking, if you go to the site of Ben's forced landing, he's fine, but man, they have some questions for you.
Seriously,
NTSB report is like strong smells of low lead and beer. Yeah,
seriously, with the fuel divert, I was like. There was like, I think you might be able to make it. You'll be all right if you land with 13 gallons. You're trying to justify it. And then I said, I'm not going to be that guy on the NTSB report. I'm not going to be on the Blanco-Lario channel. I'm just not going to do that. It literally is the end result is what I was thinking of. So
I want to hit a couple comments here.
Please.
Open Source GA asks for one of the cases, says he's willing to collect. There have been complicated schemes involving cases going to Arkansas, and that was a failure on my part, but this stuff is valuable. I think you do have to get it from the source.
I want to say real quick, Open Source GA, I like your videos.
Yeah.
I believe you're down in Savannah. I think we might be able, I don't know if I can give you a full case, but we might be able to work something out. So send us an email at midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. So
I think that Mark Wendell Geek met him at the show.
Yep.
Also, Flight 182 says ForeFlight can show a descent to destination on the bottom taskbar. That is
That's right.
one that I use for sure, because you can sit there and stay high and make your decision about when to come down based on that number.
It's one of
love
my
this.
favorite things.
Yeah. By the way, if that goes negative, you probably should be thinking about life choices.
I really like this comment. That's bootlegging, son. Southbound and down.
Sailing 85. But the other thing
More
too,
questions.
yes,
Go ahead.
thanks, open source GA. Thanks for your Oshkosh videos. I was able to check out some of that. For those of us that couldn't make it and still have yet to make it, because it's always next year. It's an interesting thing because our friend Luke, does a lot of the video work for Aviation 101, and that's a challenging time for a lot of those creators, because on one hand you want to make Oshkosh related content or whatever you want to call it, but at the same time, most people that are watching YouTube algorithms and trying to run all that stuff, it's typically not the stuff that does the best, and there's just this weird kind of glut of, which I'm glad for. I'm so happy for all of it, because it makes me feel like I'm around. But there were some especially, I think, some standouts. I really enjoyed your stuff, open source GA, and I also was really enjoying the Flying Reporter and his doing a crossing from the UK to get there, and how it took him a couple years to plan it all and to do it all and all of that, and it was so satisfying to see his hard work, with this plane and the avionics and what it takes to do a crossing, in an arrow. And then he did the mass arrival, the Cherokee mass arrival, and it was just, I don't know, those kind of stories and really make it amplify for me. So anyway, I just appreciate the people making the good stuff.
So we know the joke about the Cirrus mass arrival. I won't say it, but is the Piper mass arrival just you pull the throttle and go straight down?
It's like a Harrier. They go ahead and make the runway, like they put 30 dots on the runway.
and you can land like 4 people wide because your wings are so narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So open source GA is saying in the chat, the Flying Reporter hands down has one of the best stories related to Osh I've seen so far. Absolutely. Please go check it out. I really appreciate what he did, and it's so easy to just kind of like what I'm talking about your story, Ben, and just, okay, you flew to Osh and Mark helped you out and you had these things and whatever, and then you flew back and fuel and whatever. It's so easy to just, how do you really tell these stories of everybody that's there had to work so hard to get there, even if they didn't fly. It's just such a big deal, because it's really it's emblematic of a kind of a mass time sacrifice and energy for the good of all aviation culminating. It's just a cool thing. There's just so much energy, and you think about the people that are in the air shows and all that, and how I think one of the people that the Flying Reporter was talking to was saying, gosh, he was talking to the English or the British Blue Angels. What are they called? The red dots?
Red arrows.
Or the red arrows.
Red
Yeah,
arrows,
the red
yep.
dots. Sorry. The red.
I was calling them the red birds for a long time, and I got corrected to red arrows.
The red arrows. But one of the pilots, said there's essentially this adage that they have among the people that are performing in these kind of things, that he was kind of just saying the fastest way to sort of not enjoy it. Now, he wasn't, of course he enjoyed it, but you're not going to be able to really be present. So you just think about the sacrifice of people that are not really there to be able to get to enjoy it, but they're giving to the whole thing. So anyway, just a cool thing. I appreciate everybody making content, telling stories. Our Osh 26 channel and Discord was just on fire the whole time, and a lot of us got to keep tabs on it as if we were there. And then occasionally there'd be little things where it's just like, where are you, Ben? Well, I don't know. Where are you? I'm over here. Where are you? But it was great.
It's kind of it's parallel to when we hear somebody in our community who's done their first solo or passed their check ride. We all assimilate that feeling. We all know what it's like, and we share it with them. whenever you fly the Fisk arrival, everybody's Fisk arrival is probably just a little bit different than everybody else's. But that feeling when you get down on the ground and you turn the plane off and you can actually exhale for the first time after an hour and a half. It's just one of those things you have to experience. And I hope everybody listening to this gets that opportunity at some point in time. But it was, once again, an amazing event. So,
Yeah. I went last year from, before that, it was like, there is no way I would go there and fly into it, let alone that many people, to doing it within, about 2 years. And a lot of that was just the accumulation of skill, getting to that point that I felt comfortable going into there. You can do it. Mark and I, it's one thing that we talked about was, what is the minimum requirement to fly in there? And basically it's, don't be a student pilot. We tend to underestimate our skills. And so, if you've been flying quite a bit every year, you're capable of flying into it.
yeah, very cool. What else, Brian? Anything, or Ted, anything else? Any other questions, comments?
No, I just want to remind people to go to midlifepilotpodcast.com and hit up the tape machine. And we're really enjoying having a means to easily acquire audio from our listeners. So, yeah, feel free to do freestyle rapping or tell us stories or whatever you're into. Just record while you're, I don't know, angry at a customer service counter, anything, just whatever. And we love it all. And then otherwise, just really appreciate everybody continuing to support the show and helping us out. And there's our friend Nathan Ballard. Yep, it's all about Oshkosh 2027 now. So yeah. We're all gonna get there. We
need to start the Discord channel now for it.
So there's a discussion on maybe having accommodations that would suit a lot of people at once and done at a very price conscious point of view. So we're a year away from it, but hang on. There's one.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
I think there's going to be space for people who are willing to commit further in advance to have somewhere more comfortable than a tent to sleep in.
And also, if you were impressed with AirVenture, wait until you come to our non-event event for episode 200 at McCollum Airport. The entire airport and all of its grounds turn into exactly what it already was.
But I will say there is a very real chance that we might be recording this in front of a L-39 Albatross.
And
so now if we could be
in front of a bumblebee.
In front of a bumblebee.
Either way, it's pretty cool.
Very cool, guys. This has been a lot of fun. We've had a really big group tonight in the chat, and I'm very grateful for that. Yes, great conversations. Don't forget, please leave us a review. We're desperate for it. Don't want me crying on air. Nobody wants that. Nobody wins. Just go ahead and just leave the review. You can even include the words, "Stop whining, Ben. Here's your review." I'd be all right with that. Subscribe, do all the things. Fellas, anything else for the good of the order? All right. Tonight's wisdom. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience usually comes from bad judgment. Signing off, episode 191 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.